to weekly Cozystack meeting. I'm glad to into this document. To have an ability for edit it, you have to join to this Google group. You will have permissions to edit this document automatically.
Oh, okay. We have some freezes from you.
Yes, yes.
But
Almost. Right now, yes, but picture is still frozen.
okay. I'll just switch down my camera and I hope it will be better. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
So far, so good.
Okay. Is there anybody who wants to introduce yourself? You can do that right now. Right now I see there is Yegor, but I guess Yegor have no microphone. So if you're interested, you can just put your information about you into chat, and we will continue to agenda. And there are a few changes I would like to mention about. The first one is Fluxity changes. Recently, we introduced Fluxity operator to the Cozystack and also updated Flux Kingdom for this change. I refactored it, and now it is moved from core to system part. What the hell? I still have poor network connectivity. Okay, I'll continue with voice. So it was moved from core to system part. That means for this application, the Helm chart will be generated as normal tar-gz archive. And this chart can be installed in multiple times. It can be installed in tenant Kubernetes clusters. And here is the second change that we introduced cluster add-ons. That means when you're installing your Kubernetes cluster, you can specify some managed applications you want to be having inside of this tenant Kubernetes cluster. Right now, there are 3 of such applications: is Jinx Ingress, Cert Manager, and Fluxity. If you have any idea or any requirements for additional applications, I think we can add it there. Right now, there is an opportunity for passing through HTTP traffic from management, from Jinx Ingress inside of management Kubernetes cluster, right to the tenant Kubernetes cluster. That works by specifying, it works. I'll show you how it works.
I lost my yeah, I'm here.
Hi.
Yeah, we can hear you. Hi, Georg.
Hi.
I'm just talking about the new feature, the cluster add-ons, which can be installed in the tenant Kubernetes clusters. So after all, when you're installing Kubernetes cluster, you can specify what kind of add-ons you want to be installed there. You can enable Jinx Ingress. Sorry, I can't. Yeah, here. You can enable Cert Manager, Jinx Ingress, and Fluxity. For Jinx Ingress, you can specify specific hosts you want to be routed from the management cluster to the tenant cluster. and it will be automatically route all the traffic to the nodes, to the node group with ingress ingress row. What do you think about this design? If you like it, if it worth of it, I think we are pretty finished with going to release with that. No comments. Okay. The next topic I want to mention is Plug CD multi-tenancy. In previous meeting, we were talking about splitting one Plug CD instance to multiple instances, but we faced with the limitation of Plug CD operator that it can't install Plug CD instances in different namespaces. That means that Plug CD instance can't be installed on specific tenant namespace. It should be always be installed in the same namespace with the operator. I think this is not a big problem. We can't bill user for using those resources, but anyway, we still have an opportunity for multi-tenancy. The first idea was to split Plug CD to manage applications by the specific label selectors. So every tenant will deploy Helm releases, and we need some webhook which will put correct label on it. If you have any other idea how we can implement it, please be free to talk about it. Yes?
Just use Kyverno. Use Kyverno. It will help to first of all limit some namespaces to some tenants if you need. So if we are talking about deploying Helm releases like to the management cluster and then propagating them to the tenant clusters. And also Kyverno can help with mutating all objects in some specific way, adding labels or I don't know, anything else. So you will kill two hairs in one shot.
What kind of limitations it can provide?
Any, because Kyverno is a policy engine, so it means that you can write any generic rule, like if you have a namespace called blah blah blah, you can deploy only to tenant blah blah blah, and that's all, or otherwise. Or you can force a specific so-called service account field in all Flux resources, efficiently deadlocking this resource to a particular tenant cluster or something similar.
That sounds very interesting. So we can limit even some specific resource types. For example, we can allow users to deploy Kafka, but don't allow them to deploy virtual machines and Kubernetes clusters. Isn't that?
Yes, Kyverno can help with it. You are totally right, because creating any resource is a mutating request to the Kubernetes, and Kyverno implements admission webhook. So it could limit creation or changes in any resource that you don't want. Yes, and it's not the case with like multi-Flux CD installation. Yes, so we are talking only about right now some guide rails, right?
Yes, I only linked the multi-tenancy installation.
Yep,
Actually,
yep.
just to mention that Flux has a guide.
Yeah, and also Kyverno or OPA gatekeeper are mentioned there, as I remember. Probably the most hot topic, how to properly select an architecture for Flux CD installations, because we had an argue with Andrei Yes, so I explained that for some deployments, probably our colleagues will want to have a single FluxCD instance for managing all entities in management cluster and all entities in tenant clusters. But other customers may want to have a separate FluxCD instances for better isolation and for decreasing the coupling between different clusters.
Use this and data store because that's installed with the trigger that it needs separate FluxCD controller. Then we need to add some rule which will add specific labels for the Helm release created inside of this tenants and all the bottom tenants.
And also I
under
want
the...
to introduce probably.
Okay, well, is there any benefits of choosing? Sorry, I have very pure connection
so
and there is delay.
what I
Please
found
go
and
ahead.
I reported to you. So there is an issue with labels. Typical labels look like apps.kubernetes.io, and I think it's a bad. It was a bad idea, bad decision from the Kubernetes authors itself. They have many bad decisions, and unfortunately, they already became a standard, and we cannot do anything with that. But we can do a better world for us here. And I prefer to use a reverse order of components of label. So not like app.cozystack.io, yeah, but rather io.cozystack.app. Why? Because if you will look in the raw YAML, you can just simply sort in lexicographical order all labels and understand which labels are from some kind of application. But if you are using a typical order for Kubernetes, the labels from one kind of application like Kubernetes IO or Gatekeeper or anything else will be in different places of manifest. And if you have like, I don't know, 50, it's possible, 50 labels, it becomes a mess. So reverse order is used in many solutions like Java. It's well known and it's working very well. And I don't understand why Kubernetes developers selected a normal order, human order, because it's not convenient, at least for me. Probably you have any, it's applicable as well as for annotations and for labels. So if you have some,
I think this is not. If I would rather go by the way the many providers use. If they developing it that way, then it is proposed. I know convention that everybody uses.
Please understand, it's not a convention. It's just how to explain some typical way to make an error. Yeah. So like a standard that nobody ever agree with. Yeah. Some naive approach, but not always naive approach is good. Yeah. So I explained some reasons why default approach is not good. Yeah, I don't understand why it was chosen. Yeah, but we can make better if we want, of course. Or otherwise, we can run into some issues later when we will extend the set of labels and annotations, and it will be just late to rework it because some business logic will rely on these labels which won't ideal.
We already have some business logic over that, so I think it is already chosen solution. And I would like to not change anything like that. I understand it's slightly different. Like this is just key, this is value, and it is doesn't matter what exactly the key here. It shouldn't contain any subdomain.
If you want,
it's just name for
if you want
scope.
Sorry, not very convenient to talk if you don't see a person. Yeah. So what I wanted to say, just if you want some examples from the wild, so some vendors or some applications that use a reverse order. So I mean proper order. Yeah. I can present it. So I will have some proof that it's working, at least for somebody.
Yeah, sure. Please find and attach all the links to this document, and I think we can review and come back to this question later. I think this will be useful that some of the players really choose the reverse order for those labels, but I don't see big or big problem in that. Please provide any links. I think we can review it later. It's an issue, so we can. People will say I think. Okay. Are we ready to go to the next topic? The next thing I wanted to talk about is about ordering managed services from tenant clusters. I think it would be better, it would be a really nice opportunity to order services just from the tenant Kubernetes clusters. I still have no idea how to implement it. Probably it requires specific controller or maybe even a custom resource, which will define Cozystack services in tenant clusters. Any ideas?
Yes, I have an idea. So I want to say that it
please.
It could be a very dangerous thing because it could lead to some unpredictable consequences. So if we are ordering services from management cluster, everything is straightforward. So we cannot create like two clusters or two databases or anything else with the same name. But when we are putting these functions into a tenant cluster, we could create a situation when these races could occur. So like tenant A is ordering database with name database 1, and the tenant 2 is also ordering the database with name database 1. What should happen? So either we are creating resources on demand and generating some unique names and providing them back to the tenant clusters, or we must create some security logic which will disallow all the stuff, but then we are breaking GitOps approach because the user of tenant cluster should check what's going on, what is the status of his resource, and we are running into the same problems that many projects like Crossplane, ACK controllers, or other stuff is fighting with. I mean the statuses of the Kubernetes objects, because they are not always representing the real status of object from the real world. And also the question arises, what will happen with some data that we need to propagate back. So let's say we are creating database, and probably we want to auto-generate the database password. How it should be returned back to the tenant cluster? In status field or in some secret, or what should happen? I don't understand. These all questions should be resolved before the final decision of ordering the resources from the tenant cluster will be finalized.
Agree. I can talk around about possible name collisions, how Cube we're solving that, and actually for when you're creating service or when you're creating PVC, it always generates random name based on UID tag. So when you create service inside of tenant Kubernetes cluster, it is created as a random string on upper cluster, on management cluster, and propagated inside with a normal human understandable name. I think we can use something similar for ordering services. As about how to propagate data back, I'm still not sure. I would say we need some controller which runs outside of the tenant cluster, because that's one of the reasons that our tenant clusters never have access to management API, to API of the management cluster. So we need some, I guess it should be some custom resource which represents status and have some specific fields to order services. But there is also another problem that we don't really sure which services are really available on the management cluster. I think we can try considering something like service catalog. It is now deprecated, but we can read how it works and even maybe reuse it.
I have another 5 cents. So first of all, we need to agree on cleaning up of managed services ordered from tenant cluster. Let's say we remove tenant cluster. What should happen with all resources that were created from this tenant cluster? And if these services are stateful, like databases, it would be a very dangerous thing if we will clean up automatically. So user would want to have some option to backup data or restore it from some resource. I don't know. So it's a really complicated thing. And also the complicated thing lies in DR procedure. So let's say we somehow broke Cozystack, and then we want to restore it, and we have some broken state of these managed services ordered from tenant cluster, and how should we recover them? So what options the user will have for the recovery of these services? So if we are talking about like PVC or I don't know, like ingresses, DNS, which is stateless, there are no issues. Just kill it and recreate it from scratch. But if
PVCs are not stateless, but yeah, you're right.
Yes, I don't mean
we
that
can remove them
PVC
together with the cluster.
I meant that PVC has a nice flex, you know, retain, not retain, remove, and the question is solved. At least you always can go to the cloud panel and remove orphaned resources, yeah, by yourself. But regarding Cozystack, it could be a little bit complicated. So we must think about a lot of stuff around managed services ordered from the tenant cluster to make this thing usable and reliable. And yes, I totally agree that controller on the management cluster side is an appropriate solution, but we must then explicitly describe that management cluster always have an access to tenant clusters. It's a part of our architecture, and we want to support it in such a state. It's just a limitation of our architecture.
Where should we do this in docs?
The tenant clusters never access managed cluster, management cluster, and vice versa. Management cluster always has an access to tenant cluster, the API service.
Question when we will get the real cases and real use cases for this feature. Right now we have no that, so it's just an idea. Another option, another topic I would like to discuss is a dashboard upgrade. Right now, dashboard is just looking for Helm releases, and it actually reads various resources like secrets, Kubernetes services, and provides the information from them in UI. I think we can rework this dashboard to work with custom resources. So we can create another custom resource, I know, Cozystack add-on or something like that, and to collect all the information to create it as main resource for communicating with the user. So when we create tenants in Cozystack, they always should have access only to to this type of resources. Those resources should be propagated to Flux Helm releases. The purpose for these resources is that they can hold status, and we can make some feedback to the user about the state of the release, for example, to put release notes there, information how to access the clusters, the passwords, and things like that. So I think we can split it to two specific phase of implementations. Phase one is to introduce CRD. And phase two to rework dashboard and show information from them. What do you think about this idea? Does it make sense?
I lost your idea because there was some interruption in stream, voice stream.
I'm sorry. I mean that current dashboard which we have, it operates with Flux releases, with Flux Helm releases directly. This is very simple. The problem of that it also shows some information like secrets, like created services, ingress resources. I think we can put all this information in one single custom resource, which will hold all the information for this release and also release notes. And we can rework dashboard to take information just from this resource. Or you can say that this makes no sense and we can work as is and dashboard is not needed. But how can we provide, for example, release notes to the user? Because they still can keep some...
Sorry, Andrei, and I don't understand, sorry, probably I'm a stupid fish, guppy, yeah? I don't understand what task or problem you are solving with this.
Okay, the problem is that when we're installing some applications, we need to give some feedback to the user. At least
Okay, so
notes.
let's say we are installing a tenant Kubernetes cluster and we want to give a user a command, just a plain command and config file to connect to this cluster, right?
Yes.
Are you talking
Yes.
about this case? Okay.
So I think
So
it
do
would be
be
really
aware
nice if
that
Flux can show release notes. Yep. Please go ahead.
do be aware. Yes, do be aware that the Flux 2.3 release that we've just landed in Flux Operator is also includes Helm GA, which the status section's been greatly improved, and there's a lot more detail you can get from the Helm release status now that you couldn't get in Flux 2.2.
Totally agree with Kingdom, and I think it's a key. So we can just, so we should not make a wheel again, yeah? So we can just patch a dashboard and reflect some field from status key, like, I don't know, with release notes or some message, no idea right now, and show it in dashboard, and it's done.
In this way, I totally agree. The only problem I see that there might be some problems. For example, if we generate password, how can we provide this password to the user? Currently, dashboard looks directly into the secrets. Don't you see the problem in this?
I don't know, because if we restrict users from looking at resources created by another user, probably it's okay to show as secrets belonging to one particular user.
Yeah, one of our approach that we are not trying to hide the API of Kubernetes from the user. We really like it, and we want to teach our users to use Kubernetes. In this way, if user could read the information from the secrets and resources provided by Kubernetes, they will understand more detailed how things works. For example, how operator providing specific entities, where to find them, so they can even use it even without Cozystack. So we provide this user experience, and I think this is really a greatest thing that we can do. And I'm really glad to hear that next Flux 2.3, yeah, sorry. Will it support to provide release notes in status or where?
I think so. I think it goes in the events, though, so I'm not sure. We should check. But I do think the release notes go into the status now that you mention it. Yep. And Flux 2.3 is released already. We have landed it with Flux Operator. So it's not released.
Oh,
Yeah.
got it. We probably can rework dashboard, or at least to create issue.
Yeah, I don't think this is a terrible idea. I do really like the idea of Cozystack abstracting over Flux in a way where users don't have to expose themselves to the details of a Helm release, which is what the experience is like as an operator of Cozystack. I think it's a good experience. I would much rather create a set of YAMLs that direct Cozystack to create, for disaster recovery purposes, a list of tenants with, only the same details that I would have put into the user interface, rather than. But it is another thing to maintain. So I'm on the fence about it.
Yeah, we probably agree in that too, that we can use Flux releases. We are totally satisfied by this. I just not satisfied that dashboard uses some additional resources to show up. But I think this is not a big deal because we say that dashboard is not always, it's not the thing which you use in every day. It's usually the thing which can make quick introduction on the system and teach you how to use Flux and all these approaches in simple form. Okay, thank you. In this way, I would like to switch to the next topic, and the next topic is 0.8 release planning. Is there anything else what we need to get managed before this release will be created? I'm expecting for this PR. Could please someone review this? Kingdom, did you say that you've tested it?
I tested it. I had a few small issues that I think will be easy to correct. I haven't had a chance to try to fix them. There was a hangout in Cilium, so when Cilium failed to install in time in the timeout, it wasn't retried. I think that's an easy fix. Just add retries and remediation. And I think you've already done that in other places in the Helm releases in the system, in the core rather.
Yeah, got it.
And then the other issue that I found was it looks like Ingress has maybe a possible dependency on Cert Manager, or at least if Cert Manager is installation in progress when Ingress is installing, then Ingress can fail and timeout. It's another thing that just needs to be ordered correctly, and I think it'll be okay.
I think it should not have any dependence on Cert Manager. Cert Manager, no, Cert Manager also not depending on Jinx Ingress, but we probably have to add this. No, we shouldn't, because then when Cert Manager is installed, it not requires any.
Yeah, I didn't think that there should be a dependency between them, but I noticed that there was some interaction between them when they were both installing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like, I don't think I captured the exact error that I got, but I noticed that typo also. That's the only other thing I found.
Yeah, got it. I think that there might be an issue when cluster is created. It tries to apply those resources before the nodes were created. So it might fail, and I think we can fix it by adding retries. I think that makes sense. Oh, there is some. Yeah, got it. Well, at least if you find some errors, you can mention them right here. Just click File Changed.
Sure.
And then you can comment
it
some
was not
changes
actually
there.
introduced in this PR. That was the reason why I had to submit it as a separate PR. That file doesn't seem like it was created in this PR.
Got it. Got it. Well, okay, let's check it out. And I think after these get merged, we will cut new release. I think everything is prepared and we can just go by this change. There were a lot of changes already for the next release. That's it. Do you have any other topics to talk about? If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Any ideas?
Yes, I have an idea and I sound it to you. So my customers are asking me to provide some nice integration between Cozystack and Git repo. So what do I mean? Right now, Cozystack is self-sufficient. It installs Flux and it uses embedded Helm releases for managing components. And it's very powerful mechanism, but unfortunately, customers want to deploy applications, they want to manage a platform via Git repository, So what I see that we need to add additional application, call it something like Git repo integration. It will consist of Git repo object customization repo and secret for accessing this Git repo. So it would be a separate Helm chart, and it will set up this integration, and Cozystack will synchronize content of management cluster with Git repo, or even content of tenant clusters with the mechanism of kubeconfig key in Helm releases and customization objects. Also, it could be used for multi-tenancy, as some customers want to use a single repo for managing all the cluster and all its content. Other guys want to use separate repos, like for every tenant namespace. I'd like to hear your suggestions.
I think that we need to introduce an application that would allow you to put any custom configuration files and pass through it just from the values. Would it work for this case, or shouldn't we do this? What do you think?
I can explain. Sorry, Marian. Let me reply to Andrei. So yes, we can do a custom application which will deploy to the Cozystack any mandatory manifest, and it sounds nice. But it's not the case with the Git repo, because with Git repo we want to give a user option to paste as low number of fields and data as possible. So let's compare. Like a user, I want to enter git repo name, namespace where to deploy, or omit namespace if I want to deploy manifest from this git repo to the whole cluster, path in this git repo where manifest would be feeded, and secret like user password or just beer token in case if it's applicable for private repos, and omit it if it's public repo. In case of custom application with mandatory YAMLs, I won't be able to show these fields on dashboard itself. I will need to paste, like, I don't know, 20 lines of code in which any user could make mistakes, and unfortunately it happens.
There
So,
were some hands,
have you
right?
seen, George, have you seen the Flux operator work that we've added?
No, I did not had a chance to look at it, but I may guess it could solve the issue. But anyway, we need to provide a nice interface for users.
Yes, I think that sync. So there's two ways we could go about it. We can wrap the data and deposit it into the Flux instance, or just allow the user to do that. That's one way. And the other way is to expose like the Flux 2 sync chart from the Helm charts from Flux community. And I don't think that those are mutually exclusive. I think that, like you said, some organizations do multiple sources of truth, and the Flux operator helps users arrive on the notion of the single source of truth without Bootstrap. So both options are available, I think.
I totally agree with you, but I want to mention that it could be a different stream. So when we are talking about adding Git repo synchronization, it does not mean that users want to install a separate Flux instances. So they could be just want to add Git repo and customization and take control over one of the namespaces or the whole cluster. No idea.
Yes, that's the Flux 2 sync, and in the Flux operator, it's spec.sync, and you only get one with a Flux operator. I think you, but with Flux 2 sync chart, you could have multiple.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. I'm checking it and I really don't understand. So Flux to sync chart, and I think it's a little bit complicated because why we are running jobs there with Flux create secret?
I think the job is to help you simulate the notion of bootstrap. So if you want a secret to be created, and then the user would manually sync that secret so the bootstrap can work.
Yes, because
It
in
is
fact,
definitely complicated, and
I see. So it has two options. So it could generate a secret on your behalf via job, or otherwise just take the secret from the values. Yes.
exactly. Yep. It's to help you avoid using the Flux CLI in case that's a requirement.
To be honest, I never use the Flux CLI for generating secrets. I always was playing around with string data and the field itself. Okay.
And
Thanks.
so there's also a tension
Okay. So what about application?
between the Flux operator. If you look at the way that I built the chart, I did a minimal as possible rather than exposing every single config option because of the three-way merge. So when we create a Flux instance on behalf of the user, every field that we fill out is a field that they can no longer overwrite without conflicting with our definition in the chart. But if we only overwrite the minimum number of fields, then they can add any config that they want, including an additional sync, and those things wouldn't be in conflict, and they could be retained with a three-way merge. So how that gets in, I don't know. Maybe they run their own local instance of the dashboard on the cluster. Other options possible, but yes. So Andre, sorry, go ahead.
Now I'm just listening, and I think that makes sense. Right now, if I remember correct, there is an opportunity in dashboard to add additional Helm repositories and OCI repositories. That opportunity currently not works for us because we disabled it in role-based access control. But we can enable it back and patch dashboard to provide that opportunity to adding Helm repositories. But they not looks like an applications created. I would rather avoid using that approach. Yes, we can create an application. We should think about the possible drawbacks of this. As you mentioned, there might be some collisions. But I don't understand what kind of collisions there might be. At least we wanted to make pluggable
If the user
interface,
wants
and this pluggable interface can be
provide their
also
own
done.
patches. What I was saying
Patches?
is if a user wants to
Sorry,
provide their own
I
patches
just
for
didn't hear.
Flux, then any patches that we provide, because of the way that merging works, we can't just merge into an array. So there might be a solution for that, but it's a challenge.
Yeah, if I understand it correct, Georg is talking more about adding user-faced applications for adding their own repositories. I'm agree on that, and I think that we can add some kind of add-ons. So instead of, it should be some Flux prepared repository which can be linked to Cozystack, and Cozystack can see all the applications available to install from it. But this initial step for creating add-on repository, it should be, I think it should be done by CLI or by installing some sets of YAMLs to the cluster. We just need to describe how to do this, or if you have any idea or proposal how to do this, let's do this. I think that's not a problem. Well, we have 5 minutes left. Do we have any other questions which we want to talk about?
Yeah, I would like to take a look at. I would like the community to take a look at my approach with the apt installation. Could you please check it? Is the branch like 173 something?
So yeah, there is an idea to move to change the approach of providing values for the Helm chart from this format to automatically generate values files and put the images into values files. I totally agree on this approach. And he already made some POC for cluster API operator. I think I'm gonna review it soon.
So there's one problem. I was not sure how to solve it. So let's see those values files you get. Yeah. So you, for example, you're a user and you want to generate a set of images for your own repository. And after you do this, you have a bunch of values files, or even for each chart, which differs from the upstream registry. So it will be kind of difficult to support the next installations and maybe upgrades and something. So I was thinking about some file which contain all the images we need, and maybe there would be some way to add it to gitignore or something, just for the purpose for supporting, your own installations with your own images.
I think in this way we should allow users to specify their registry, their repository in Cozystack config map file. Then platform chart should put correct values. Correct values for every chart that is going to be installed.
Yeah, but each values file has its own digest. So
digest can be simply copied from the. I think we shouldn't allow to override those digests. Or is there any reason we want to allow user to override those digests? Because those digests can be simply pulled by Crane and push it to the other repository without changes.
You sure about that? No, that's okay. If so.
So you can download the images from using Crane tool. Crane, and it will preserve all the digests. The only thing is that we need to collect somehow all the images used by the single Cozystack version to simply export them and write script to exporting all of these images with the digests from one repository to another registry, Docker registry.
Okay.
But there is really an opportunity that we need to provide to override this for every in by Cozystack config map. We should have an option for that.
Guys, sorry. There is only 1 minute left to the end of meeting. Would you like to proceed or to postpone all open questions to the next one?
I think we are almost done, so we can finish. And I would say thank you everyone for joining us, and see you next week.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.